Get this press conference started. All right, so UAB travels to Tulane this Saturday for their first ever American Athletic Conference game. So with that, I'll turn it over to Coach Dilfer for an opening statement.
Well, thank you. We're a 1-3 football team. Bill Parcells said the best, you are what your record is. That's what we are. We own it, and our jaws are locked, for lack of a better term, of getting better this week in every area of our organization, like we did last week, to go 1-0.
With last week, you say you kind of changed up some things you did during practice. Will this week be really similar to what you did last week, or will there be some more tweaks to how you practice?
Very small tweaks. I want to shift in perspective on some things, so we're doing some things around the building and in practice to kind of change perspective, to kind of symbolize a new season. Not gimmicky, just more of a shift of perspective.
Trent, have you ever met Willie Fritz, or have you had any prior relationship with him? And if so, can you talk about just the job that he's done with that program?
You must have been teed up, because that's where I wanted to go. Met Willie at the AAC meetings, as well as or I should say the AAC meetings, and then as well as Media Day. I've been an admirer of his from afar. When I was doing TV, one of my assistants had spent some time with him and raved about him, so I started studying him. I think he has one of the great honors you can have. He's in the JUCO Hall of Fame, and I'm the son of a JUCO coach, high school and JUCO coach. My coaching philosophy, which I stole from a mentor of mine, is getting the most from the least and the best from the best. And I don't think there's a place on the football planet where you have to do that more than at junior college. So when you can coach JUCO, when you can coach high school ball at a high level, you can coach, because you've learned how to do it a lot of different ways. You learn how to get the most from the least. But then you do have some best in those situations, and you have to learn how to coach those guys as well to help them reach their potential. So, and I could brag on Willie, but really what brags on him is his tape. You know, we're just diving into the tape, and his teams play the way I hope our teams play one day.
All your games this year have been evening kickoffs thus far. How do you get these guys up for an 11 a.m. kickoff?
Well, I do think this is an advantage of being a morning team. We're a morning practice team, so this shouldn't be weird for their body clocks. We'll travel in such a way that it maintains kind of a regular work week day, so they should wake up feeling as they normally would on a morning practice. The nutrition, hydration, all that, this is called the sports science piece, will all be tailored for a morning kick. We will practice outside more this week to get used to the sun. You know, I think that's a subtle little thing that I knew I struggled with it as a player if I didn't practice in the sun, and then I'm playing in a Lambeau Field or Soldier Field at a noon kickoff. It was always an eye adjustment. So they got to get their eyes right for that time of day of the game. But all that stuff is fun narrative. At the end of the day, you got to go do your job, regardless of whether it's night, morning, Walmart, or New Orleans. Like, you just got to go play.
Did any mystifiers out there get that in the media?
No, I don't even know what the weather's supposed to be like in New Orleans. Is it supposed to be super humid? I don't know. We've had plenty of hot practices around here, so I don't foresee that being an issue.
Trent, American play starts, and this was a long journey for UAB before you were even here, but you know the history now. What does it mean to get into a conference like this, and now it's about to get serious?
Yeah, I'm obviously very excited about it. I don't know if I think I'm more consumed with how we're trying to get better than the kickoff to the American, but I don't want to diminish it. You know, it's obviously a massive step for this institution. A lot of people did a lot of cool things to get us here, and I want to recognize that, but my jaw's locked on winning today and then winning tomorrow and then hopefully winning Saturday that I can't think too much about that, to be honest with you, Ryan. I haven't got caught up in the fanfare of this week. When you're 1-3, you have to have a laser lock focus on what you have to do to win. And I just can't be distracted by that other stuff.
And my second one is just how are you handling a slower start than maybe anticipated? You do anything different? I see the mustache, different look.
Yeah, it was aging me, so I was trying to find something to take some of the years off. No, I hadn't done this in years. I don't know why. I was shaved. My beard had gotten all raggedy and nasty, and was shaving. And I said, why not? Try something new. And so we'll see. I'm curious with the players. See, a lot of the coaches were shocked this morning. I actually did it in the office this morning. So walked out of they had seen me walk through the door at 6:15 with a beard, and then by 7:30 I look like this. So a couple of them are taken aback. My favorite person in the building is Abby Brunson. By far, there's no close second right now because she told me I look like a bald Tom Selleck. And Tom Selleck, Magnum PI, was kind of my hero growing up. So, and she did not know that either. So she's like a 9 right now, and everybody else is in the 3 to 4 category. So
I think you look great.
thank you. Copying from you.
With Michael Pratt, how much did you know about him before you started kind of looking at this weekend looking at tape?
Yeah.
And when you watch him on tape, does he look like a guy who's played a lot of college football games?
Yeah, he's as old as I am, I think. No, the guy's been playing a ton of football for a long time. He's played at a high level. He's played in every environment you can play in. He's gone through adversity. Like he is literally the poster child for what you want your quarterback to go through. If I'm an NFL draft scout, I'm taking all that into account because, as I've talked about the quarterback position, so much about the stuff as it is the talent, and the guy's made of the right stuff. He's played. I mean, literally, I could go through everything you have to do as a quarterback, and he's done it. So our challenge is immense. Sometimes people dumb it down too much and say, "Oh, it's all about how the quarterback plays," and then sometimes they're right. Sometimes it truly comes down to if you have a great quarterback, you can mask some other stuff. Well, they're good at the other stuff, and they have a great quarterback. So there's a reason why they're so darn good, and he's a big part of it.
With him, the game or two that he missed, you're watching the tape? Do they really look different?
They don't look different schematically. They really it comes down to critical downs. Like you take these critical downs, when you add them up at the end of the game, they usually determine whether you win or lose. And when he's playing, they play the criticals much better. And that's just a matter. It's a factor of. Excuse me. It's a factor of his experience, his poise, his ability, the trust he has in his guys, the trust the play caller has in him. There's a lot of factors in that, but that's really the difference in them winning and losing is his ability to execute in those critical moments.
Looking back at the Georgia game, you got to feel good. I know it wasn't the result that you wanted, but looking at young guys like Lee Beebe, Amari Thomas, kind of shining in the moment, that's got to be good for you to know that you have some really good young talent on this roster that can make good plays.
Yeah, I think, yes, we played 9 true freshmen against Georgia. So that's a good and a bad thing, right? It's very good that those 9 true freshmen played very well. The bad thing is that we're playing 9 true freshmen against Georgia. I think another good thing is you're looking at wins all the time. When you're in this seat, you're always looking at how your building's trying to win. And one of the big question marks around us, not just me, was could we recruit? And I think we've answered that question, right? Recruiting is obviously the lifeblood of college football, and you're trying to win games in season. You're trying to recruit at the same time. You're recruiting in the offseason. You're trying to get your schemes right, develop your players. So it's really the challenge of this job is you're trying to win 2 different games at the same time. You're trying to win the game that's on Saturday, and you're trying to win the game that helps you win the game on Saturday. And I am happy that we know we won that game, and we're winning that game. So that doesn't, and hopefully that game helps us win on this Saturday too. I think these are guys we're counting on. Everett Rousseau, starting inside linebacker is a true freshman. Amari Thomas leads the game in catches is a 17-year-old true freshman. You have contributors. Ricky Lee gets an interception, another true freshman. Mequan Merriweather probably grades out better than any defensive lineman, true freshman. Chris Bracey plays 20-plus snaps, true freshman. These guys will continue to play. We've played 11 true freshmen this season. So we're encouraged by that. We don't just recruit talent, we recruit the right stuff, and we believe our kids have the right stuff, and that's why they're able to go on a big stage and perform the way they do. Now they got to keep getting better. It's anytime you play true freshmen, they don't always understand the again and again and again part, like 77 plays of it, but that's what this week is for, to help them better understand that, because we're going to continue to lean on these guys.
Few changes along the offensive line this past week at Georgia. Is that something that's going to continue to kind of change throughout the season, just to continue to evaluate the competition between these guys?
Yeah, we have 7 guys really competing, maybe 8 for 5 spots each day in practice. I think one of the things I talked last week about sharpening my edge was just the matter-of-factness that I approached the offensive line practice with. Willie Parker, our left tackle, did not get all the first-team reps last week. We rotated right tackle reps. We rotated right guard reps. We'll continue to compete in practice for those spots. I'm not saying they played poorly, but they're like the rest of us. They got to continue to improve. I talked to the receivers last night. I'll be very honest with you. I talked to the receivers last night. I said, don't you dare let stats lie to you. Like, stats are for losers when you look at them as execution. We are not executing nearly at the level that I want to a wide receiver, not even close. Now, their stats say, we're this good in passing, and a bunch of guys are touching the ball and all that cool stuff that people want to Instagram about. But the eye in the sky don't lie, and we need to play much higher level pretty much everywhere on the football field.
Pretty good segue for me. I'm looking at all these numbers with Zeno right now. I mean, he's putting up really good numbers, historic numbers at this program, and he's on the national ranks in a lot of categories. But I heard you say 2 weeks ago, I don't care about all that. Wins all that matters. Is that the message to him, or do you like where he's going?
Well, he's kind of in that both category. Like, you are what your record is, and that's as a starting quarterback. He's 1-3. I will say this, though. He played extremely well against Georgia. He handled a lot of stuff that most college quarterbacks could not handle. If you go back and look at the 21 games they've won there in a row, most of them the quarterback melts down. Like, most. I'm not going to put an exact number to, but it's most. Like, it's very rare that a quarterback goes in there and plays at a high level. Crowd noise, the atmosphere, a lot. Georgia's front 7, what they do, they create NFL issues with pass protection, run fits. Like, the quarterback has a big job. Jacob checks to a protection in the red zone and throws a touchdown that, I would argue there's 20 NFL quarterbacks that couldn't, 1, recognize it, 2, adjust it with the chaos, and then 3, have the poise to execute it. So he's doing some really good things. Are there things he can get better at? I think he'd be the first to tell you yes. We're probably leaving 30 to 50 yards on the field just with simple stuff that we can fix. But that's a challenge. In this offense, the quarterback's a co-offensive coordinator, and that's one of the burdens that they carry. And there's awesome freedom in that, and production comes with that, but there's awesome responsibility in that too. And he continues to grow in that co-offensive coordinator role as well as the quarterback role.
Do you say that to him, hey, dude, you did pretty good against a Georgia team. Now we're going to American.
Yeah.
You could play like that.
Well, listen, I think people here's the one thing I will say. I haven't read a lot. I've read a little bit since the game. I've heard, because I've had to do media, I keep hearing this, if they play well against Georgia, they should play well in the American. Tulane could have gone in there and played better than we played. Okay? We have, I would say, almost an equal challenge this week. They're not the best team in the world, but they're pretty darn good. We got to get better than we played against Georgia. One thing I showed the team yesterday was If we execute, now Georgia did not play their best. I will say that. Kirby's probably grading them as a C- performance would be my guess. But because they didn't play their best football, if we would have played our best, we're in a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. If we execute, if we do our jobs, Jacob included, we're in a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter. So I guess what I'm saying is that, like, it doesn't matter if we're going to the old, what's the conference I played in when I was a freshman? It was called the Big West, like Long Beach State, Pacific, teams don't even exist anymore. If we were going to that conference and don't execute, we would struggle. So I'm not trying to be Grim Reaper here, but we have to play at a much higher level if we expect to win in the American, especially against Tulane.
Good.
Well, Mark Thomas, you mentioned you being 17 years old, and I know he came in the spring. Did you see in the spring, how much, first off, did the spring help him, and second off, did you see that he might have a role in the fall? Did you see it pretty quick?
Spring is massively important for certain people. I don't think it's necessary for everybody, but it can definitely pour gasoline on your development, especially how you handle it, right? I think it's you just if you show up and go to class and are a warm body, it's not going to help you. But if you dive in, like Amari did in the weight room, changed his body composition, got acclimated to college life, got a good GPA, showed that he could take care of his business off the field, was on time, wasn't late to stuff, had professional habits at an early age, and made plays. We all talked about it in the spring, like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Wow, he made another play. It was never like, oh, he's going to help us win games next year in the spring. It was really fall camp where we're like, oh, okay, Amari's going to help us win games. Like he carried over from his performance in the spring into fall camp. He consistently played the ball in the air better than anybody in the room. He developed the trust of the quarterbacks. He developed the trust of the coaches. I think Amari, for as talented as he is, the two things I think separate him, and this goes to our our recruiting philosophy, is he's a very smart person. Like he is highly intelligent. He'll be successful in the world no matter what he does because of his intelligence. And he's got a great deal of poise. The no moment is too big for him. He stays very even-keeled emotionally. He's got a quiet mind. You can give him a ton of information. He can synthesize it. He can process it. He can calm it down and then go execute. He has outstanding professional habits for a young person. He's very much like my oldest daughter. It's amazing how much in him and my oldest daughter are alike. She was mature beyond her years. She was, obviously a great player in high school. She always thought like an adult. She always trained like an adult. She always performed like an adult. The bigger the game, the better she played. Amari reminds me a lot of Maddie, my oldest.
Did his role this week step up a little bit because with Iverson
Yes.
being out? I mean, is that kind of
Speaks to his intelligence. He wasn't even playing Iverson's role. Amari was playing the Z position for us, the flanker position, and rotating in with TJ and Fred. And then when Strap got hurt, I actually made the decision. I just told the offense Amari's going to be the H because he has H qualities. Now he had played around at H, he's so smart. He's played every position through fall camp. And honestly, this is going to sound bad, but because his legs were fresh in fall, he was able to fill in for the veterans at different positions. So he had a little experience there. And I said, let's just throw him in the deep end and see if he can swim. And he did the breaststroke, right? He did pretty darn good. So he'll be one of our H's moving forward. But our offense is, it's so multiple that I don't know if the defense ever knows who the X, Y, Z, H is and how we line up so many different ways. So, but if you notice, our H moves the most. Like if you look at our offense, and Tulane knows this, but our H player is going to be the one that's going to move the most pre-snap and line up in the most positions.
All good?
Good. Thanks, you guys. By the way, do you like it?
Looks good.
Okay.
Looks good. Did you see some Brown
brown shoes and hat.
Yeah.
And black socks.
Two bucks off.